Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain wa ba'd. Therefore, what must we do? Become strangers. And that's the title of the lecture today, Becoming Strangers. Now, what about becoming strangers? Who is a stranger? What is a stranger? I love this quote of Gandhiji's. He said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Gandhiji was known for some wonderful quotes. They asked him, what do you think of European civilization? He said, I think it's a good idea. He went to London to meet the King of England. And so they asked him, he was in his usual, dhoti. So somebody asked him, they said, you're going to meet the King of England and you have so few clothes on. So he said, the King of England has enough clothes for both of us. So it's some wonderful, he had a wonderful sense of humor and some fantastic quotes. So he said about being strangers, Gandhiji said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Now, who are strangers? What is the whole concept of being a stranger? Think about this. In a world of corruption, integrity is a stranger. In a world of lies, truth is a stranger. In a world of cruelty, compassion is a stranger. In a world of ignorance, knowledge is a stranger. In a world of oppression, justice is a stranger. In a world that makes profit out of wars, peace is and has to be a stranger. This is one of the great paradoxes of our society today, and it's amazing how nobody stands up and asks this question, that the people who are saying we want peace are those countries which are manufacturing and selling armaments, weapons of mass destruction. So if you are going to manufacture and sell weapons of mass destruction, what do you think is going to happen? You have a vested interest in war. War is good for you because wars make profit. So if somebody stands up and says, we have to have a world in which wars make loss, then you are a stranger. What did the Prophet ﷺ say about strangers? There's a beautiful hadith which is called the hadith of the ghuraba. In Arabic the word gharib, and even in Urdu we say ajib or gharib. So the word gharib does not mean poor, the word gharib means a stranger, ajib, strange, wa gharib, strange. So who are the strangers? Rasulullah said, Bada al-Islam ghariban. He said Islam started as a stranger. Islam started as something strange. Why? Remember the example I gave you, the comparison between the 7th century and the 21st century, where the definition of high net worth individual is who has most money, and the definition changes to high net worth individual is who has the most character. It is seen as very strange. In a world that is full of promiscuity, somebody who has haya, somebody who has dignity, somebody who does not fall into that promiscuous situation is seen as a stranger. You go to a den where people are smoking hash and you say, I don't smoke, you are a stranger. So here was Islam which spoke about justice when injustice was the norm. Here was Islam which spoke about the rights of women, which women do not have to this day. I'm not telling my opinion, facts. Facts. And those who are interested, I'll give you those graphs. To this day, women in America get 80% of the wage that a man gets for the same job. Women are paid 20%, that's a huge percentage, 20% less money for the same job that a man does for no reason other than her gender is female instead of male. And we like to talk about equality of women. And my submission is equality of women is not whether she covers her head or doesn't cover her head. Pay her the money, man. She did the work. What is your excuse for not paying her the money? Not my opinion, these are facts. To this day, as we speak, Islam said this is haram. Islam said equal work, equal pay. Islam said pay the worker before his sweat is dry. Don't keep payment pending. Finish it immediately. Give the money to him before that. Islam said when the customer comes, give him more. Don't give him equal to what he paid you. That of course you must give him, but give him something more. When you are weighing something in a balance, give more. Islam, Bada al-Islam ghariban. Islam started as something strange. وَسَيَعُودُ غَرِيبًا كَمَا بَدَى. And it will return and it will go back to being seen as strange. Wallah, today we are living in that world. Islam seems strange even to Muslims. May Allah protect us. I should not be saying this, but this is the reality. Muslims are not living on Islam. Forget anybody else. Forget other people. Muslims are not living on Islam. Huh? We say people are discriminating against us. I say absolute nonsense. Nobody discriminates against you. You do what Islam tells you. Tell me, if you are doing work for somebody and you give more than what the person paid you for, which Hindu, which Jew, which atheist, which Sikh, which Christian will be upset with you for that? It's nothing to do with it, nothing to do with religion. I mean, if you are hiring me to do some work, you want quality, I give you more quality than what you paid me for. Will you be happy or will you be mad at me? Huh? Do you care that I'm a Muslim? You don't care. So what? On the other hand, the impression will be, this is a good thing. We should hire Muslims because every Muslim who comes here gives me more than what I'm paying him for. Every Muslim who comes here does not take big breaks. He works very hard. And you ask him, why do you do that? Because he says, I am answerable to Allah. And there is nothing hidden from Allah. I can hide from you, but I cannot hide from Allah. So I am working to please Allah. So alhamdulillah, very nice. وَسَيَعُودُ غَرِيبًا كَمَا بَدَى. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said something. He said, فَتُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى. He said, give the glad tidings of Tuba to the strangers. Tuba is the name of Jannah. So who are the strangers? The strangers are those who stand for those principles and values and ethics and morals which today have become strange in the world. Strange in the world. The tragedy is we even teach this stuff. You all go to a business school. Many of you go to a business school, right? As you know, I teach in business schools. What do we teach? I don't teach them, but I'm saying, what do people teach? We have to ask ourselves this question. So what is the nature of strangeness? Strangeness, please understand, is not simply doing something funny. Strangeness is to go against the norm. Fish swim against the current. Only dead fish go with the current. So the ability to swim against the current is a sign of leadership. We don't just do something big, but you see, this is what everybody does. Everybody is not my teacher. My teacher is Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I stand by my principles, I don't stand by your principles. So, question the norm. And then decide if you want to follow the norm or not. And that's why conformity or rebellion, both are not necessarily bad. Sometimes some norms you must rebel against. Some other norms are good norms, so we should conform to them. Yes, of course we do that. But do that consciously and sensibly. And the moral courage to stand for the principle. That is very, very important. And sometimes standing for the principles means standing beside somebody else. Because the discrimination may not be against you, but it will be against somebody else. And you need to stand up and say, sorry, you can't do this to this person. And somebody says, what's your problem? That is my problem. That is my problem. You cannot do this to that person because that is my problem. And that's why I say leaders stand out and are honored, sheep blend in. So what about the people who are the strangers or who want to be the strangers? And that is, it's like a flag, right? The bashara, the good news, the glad tidings were for people who stood out as strangers. And what was the effect of that? They changed society. They changed society. Because it is in the innate nature of human beings to be attracted to that which is good. So if somebody is standing for something which is good, people tend to, initially they will fight, as we said. But over time they will say, no, you know what, this guy is true. He always says the right things. He stands for the right things. I'm going to support him. Believe me, it happens. Don't look at current political situation in the world and so on and think that no, if you have to in politics you have to lie and cheat and no. You do not have to do any of that. Stand for principles and the tide will change. If there is a dirty piece of cloth, how will you clean it? By washing it with dirty water or clean water? Clean water. There's no other way. So we have to become clean people if you want society to be clean. So these clean people, when the society is dirty, will be seen as strangers. But we need to be prepared for that. So what must we do to become strangers? Differentiate. Why differentiate? Because differentiation creates brand creates loyalty, loyalty earns followers. Loyalty creates influence. Without brand, you are a grain of rice in a sack. You are still rice, but what's the worth? And that's why I say leaders stand out, sheep blend in. Why must you stand out? It's like the flag. When do you salute a flag? When it's on the flagpole or when it is drying on a clothesline? Which one? It's still the same flag. You salute the flag when it is on the flagpole. But only when a flag is flying on the flagpole is it a symbol of the nation. Flag got dirty, I just washed it. Tomorrow morning is Independence Day, we are going to raise the flag, so let's wash it tonight. The flag is on the clothesline. When you're going past, will you salute? No. It's a piece of cloth. But when it gets up on the flagpole, it's not a piece of cloth anymore. It's a symbol of the nation. So we respect it and we salute it. And that is the benefit of standing out on the basis of goodness, because that is attractive to people. And that is why Tuba, which is Jannah, which is heaven, is for the strangers. And what is Jannah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the in the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I have prepared for the pious, for people who obey and people who are pious, I have prepared for them such things that no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard of, and nobody has ever thought of. Something which is unimaginably beautiful and good. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that for all of us, inshallah. So where do we stand today and what do we need to do? We stand today at a place which I call the forking time in history. At a fork in history. You decide to go left or you decide to go right, and that depends. That will chart the path of your destiny. Now when you stand, what is important about forking times in history? Forking times in history are times which are characterized by huge amounts of turmoil. For various reasons. Sometimes it is war, sometimes it is different things. But because of that turmoil, the foundations of the structures of society change. Structures of society are the ways we think, our mindsets, our structures in terms of political structures, financial structures, government structures and so on. All of these come up. That's how the 700-year-old Khilafah Islamiyah or Khilafah Uthmaniyah structure of society disintegrated after the war, right? Because of the war, structure of society changed. The structures of societies changed to nation states. They were from monarchies, they changed to democracies. Whatever the democracy might be, you might say good and bad, so on, but they changed from that. From monarchies to democracies. and so on and so on. So turmoil creates that opportunity. Now that's an opportunity because for a short time, because of the turmoil, the foundations of structures of society are changed, are shaken. For a short time, it is given into the hands of few people, small amount of dedicated people who can change the path of destiny. But there is a condition to that. That will happen only if those people have a plan. If they understand, if they have a structure and they've got a plan, they've got a goal and they've got a plan to get there. Otherwise, they are also caught up in the same turmoil. Today, if we look at the Muslim Ummah, I think this illustrates the state of the Muslims globally speaking, which is like we are like people caught in a storm. So the storms all around, you're getting a bad rap from every direction, a lot of hatred against Muslims and so on and so on. So this is our situation where we are in this state. Now if you are in this situation, if you are a passenger or especially if you are a captain of such a ship, it's important to be able to do two paradoxical things simultaneously. One is keep focused on the destination. Irrespective of what is happening around you, don't let your focus change. Keep focused on the destination. Which means you need to ignore a lot of the stuff that is happening around you. If you are responding to every message, if you are responding to every Facebook post, if you are responding to every tweet or Twitter, every tweet, then you are in serious trouble. So you need to ignore the stuff around you and keep focused on the destination. And simultaneously, and that's why I say this is paradoxical, because simultaneously you also need to be aware of what is happening around you. So you need to know what the waves are doing, which way the wind is blowing and so on. At the same time, you need to cut that out in a way where you are focused on the destination, otherwise you get blown off course. Because the reality is that the one who ignores the sea dies and the one who can't swim drowns. Same difference. You die anyway. So very important to be able to do these two paradoxical things simultaneously and do them well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised tests. Sometimes people, they come to you and they say, oh, I'm in difficulties, I'm being tested. We say, it's good news. This is what Allah promised, so it will happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. There's only the first part of the ayat which is there on the screen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Allah said, truly and certainly and verily we will test you with something of fear and hunger, and with loss of wealth and loss of lives and loss of fruits, meaning your health as well as your children and so on and so forth. We will test you with all of these things. We will test you with some of these things maybe simultaneously, with some of these things maybe together, but tests will come to everyone at every level. And then Allah said, but the good news and glad tidings are for the people who have sabr. What is sabr? Sabr is patience. Sabr is doing your best and then trusting in Allah for the result. That is the meaning of sabr. Allah said, Sabirin, for them there is glad tidings. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us what to do. Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis sabri was salah. Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. What must you do if there is a test? What must you do if you are in difficulties? Have sabr, make your preparations, prepare, do your best, and then make dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. And then what did Allah say when you do that? He said, Allah is with the people who have sabr. I always say this, that there is a difference between saying Allah will help you and Allah is with you. Huge difference. Will help you can be limited to some extent. How much help? So much help. But when you say Allah is with you, then everything which belongs to Allah is with you. And what does not belong to Allah? So Allah promised us tests, and Allah told us what to do in those tests. So nothing to get worried about. Whatever is happening in the world is not something for us to fear. It's not something for us to be worried about. It's not something for us to get depressed about. It's not something for us to sit and say, oh my God, how bad the times are. No, 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 no. Alhamdulillah. All praise and all thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me in this gym so I can build my muscles. You get strength by training against resistance. You don't get strength by training by lifting a pair of glasses. No? Training against resistance. The heavier the weight, the bigger the muscles. And that's the reason why we need to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. And that's why I say to you that today is the best time. Why is it the best time? Because we are alive. Simple as that. So what must we do? Become standard bearers or remain enslaved? Very important for us that we need to question and we need to change our traditional leadership icons. You say Alexander the Great. Ask yourself, why do you say the Great? Because here was a man who was living perfectly, peacefully and harmoniously and in good order in Macedonia, in Greece. And then for reasons known to himself, he decides to come out of there with an army and rape and plunder and pillage his way all the way up to India. This makes him great? Does it make him great? Because you looted so many countries? Because you killed so many people? And that's my spin on this. I'm just saying that when you are saying these things, you say Alexander the Great, what is great? If you are going to say that wars and looting and pillaging and raping and plundering and invading other people's countries and ruining their economies and so on and taking away their wealth is great, then be prepared for a world which will be filled with great people. Seriously, because you are expounding, oh, this is great, wow, fantastic. Genghis Khan, in one day he killed 1.7 million people in the city of Samarkand. 1.7 million people in one day. And remember, they were not using machine guns, swords. Bang, 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 bang. One day, in the city of Samarkand. 1.7 million people, men, women, children, everybody. Great. Very nice. If you are among them, that's great. Somebody who chops my neck is great. We have to question today, who are our icons? Military generals, kings, queens, business tycoons, even business tycoons who do good. Anytime somebody says Warren Buffett, is he talking about his net worth or is he talking about whatever charity he is doing? Anytime somebody says Bill Gates, is he talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or is he talking about the net worth of Microsoft? So, business tycoons, net worth, defined by money. How did you get the money? We don't care. Thousands of crores, where does it come from? I don't care. Who did you loot? No problem. As long as you've got it. What do we talk? Oh my God, he's got a Bentley, he's got this, he's got that, he's got a yacht, he's got something, he's got this plane and everything is gold plated. And how long are we going to live like this, like slaves? Seriously, we have to ask ourselves this question. Do we have a value for character? Do we have a value for compassion? Do we have a value for izzah? Do we have a value for people, uprightness, honesty, integrity? Or is it only going to be this rubbish? Junk collectors. What kind of watch? Some people wear a watch to tell the time, some people wear a watch to tell the world. Why is it important? Because who we live up to, that is who you will become. Whoever we look up to is who we will become. So icons are very, very important. So we need new role models. And that's the reason why I say that the new role model is an old role model. 1400 years old. We need to create such role models in today's world. Yes, it is important to read the life of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But if it only ends with reading the life, then we still haven't achieved anything. We need to become like that in today's world. That is the challenge for us. And what's wrong with that? If you become like that in today's world, believe me, you will become the most beloved, the most popular person on the face of the planet. People will love you. They'll probably try to make you the king of the country or something. Who knows? I mean, what's wrong with that? Right? So very important for us to create new role models, for us to write a new narrative, not this old conquest-based empire narrative. The conquest-based empire narrative is roughly about 2,500 years old, and it is failed. It's failed big time. So it's high time we woke up to the fact that this narrative does not work. It's only created misery in this world, nothing else. We need to change that. And we need a new narrative which is based on compassion, which is based on justice, which is based on contribution, on development, on invention, on education. Inclusiveness, everyone together, not talking divisions. I say this a million times. Anyone who preaches division, walk away from that. Anybody who preaches any kind of division, based on religion, based on race, based on culture, based on caste, anyone who is putting one human being against another human being, walk away from that. Do not listen to anybody who preaches division. Listen to people who preach equality. I believe one thing, you believe different, alhamdulillah, no problem. You want to know what I believe, I will tell you. You don't want to know, I will not tell you. I'm not going to bring it and shove it down your throat. No, you have to know. But can we live together? Of course. Can we eat together? Yes. Can we work together? Of course. Can we go have fun together? Yes, of course. Can we go for a holiday together? Yes, of course. Can we both stand shoulder to shoulder against injustice? Yes, of course. That is the world we need. That is the world we need, where we can stand together shoulder to shoulder despite our differences. Please understand, many people talk about we should not have differences. That is nonsense. Of course we will have differences. And there is nothing wrong in having differences. But just because we have a difference in one way of thinking or in one aspect, it does not mean that we have to break hearts, or we have to part, or we have to form different cliques and groups. Today, may Allah forgive the Muslims, we have a million groups and sects within ourselves. Forget about others. Within ourselves. This one raises his hand, that one does not do that. This one has a topi on his head, the other one does not. La hawla la quwwata illa billah. I am saying not only do the Muslims need to get together, the Muslims and the Hindus and the Sikhs and the atheists and the whatever need to get together and stand against injustice, no matter who is doing it, whether the one doing it is a Muslim or not. That is my message. We need to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, against all forms of injustice wherever it is happening in the world. And that is not only my message, that is the message of Islam. So therefore, what must we do? We must change our sales approach. Our dawah approach. We need to change it from selling benefits, from selling features to selling benefits. My brothers and sisters, especially I'm talking to the Muslims now, people are sick and tired of listening to speeches about Islam. People want to see what is Islam, what can Islam do for me. What can Islam do for me even before or whether or not I convert to Islam? I may never convert to Islam. But can your Islam help me? And if the answer is, my Islam cannot help you, then why should I be interested in Islam? What for what? Yeah, okay, interesting idea, this is what happened, you believe in God in this way, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was there and so on. So what? That so what you have to answer, I have to answer. Because everyone, I call this WIIFM, that's the FM station everybody listens to. What's in it for me? So the other person is saying, what's in it for me? As far as Islam is concerned, what's in it for me? Who must answer that? You must answer it, I must answer it. What's in it for you? There is justice in it for you. There is compassion in it for you. There is universal brotherhood in it for you. There is a non-interest based finance system for you. Our normal banking understanding is what? Low interest is good or high interest is good? If you go to the bank to borrow money, and one bank is giving you money at 24%, another one is giving you money at 8%, which one will you take? Lower money, obviously 8%. But if somebody is giving you money at 0%, then what? That's fantastic, right? That's what Islamic banking is. But because now we have this bad rap everywhere, moment you say Islamic, no, Islamic banking. Plague. Don't touch it. Why? We have to ask ourselves these questions. Can we explain to people? It's not Islamic, just terminology. Don't even use it. Who cares? Don't call it anything else. Call it monkey banking or something. Who cares? What is it? It's zero interest based finance. How does it work? This is how it works. I'm not going into the details now, but tell me something. If you would like to borrow money to build a house and I charge you no interest, whatever you borrowed, you pay me back. Is it nice or not nice? Simple as that. Then find me who will resist that. So that is the issue. We have a choice in life to become one of two things: masters or victims. There's a window of opportunity that opens in the life of every person when they have an opportunity to make a difference. That window opens in the life of every person, and that window closes. And once the window closes, your life is over, even if you remain alive. And our window is open now. The essential truth is that life is about making choices. We make these choices consciously, sometimes we make them unconsciously, but life is all about making choices. We choose to be victims or we choose to be masters. Why is it important to consciously choose? Because both the choices are subject to the givens of society and environment. But the implications, the ending is very different. Who are victims and who are masters? Victims are people who complain, who whine and moan and groan about what's happening, but they do nothing else. They blame others, it's always somebody else's fault. Why is your career going down the drain? Because, oh, but you see, my boss doesn't like me, he's discriminating. You don't talk about what is it that you are doing to win the confidence of the boss. Why is your marriage going down the drain? Oh, you see, my wife's fault, my husband's fault, somebody's fault. How come your children are Al Capone in his youth? Huh? Oh, you see, society is so bad. It's always somebody else's fault. But who are the masters? The masters are those who say, what can I do? This is the situation, this is the condition, what can I do? I'm not going to sit and simply moan and complain all the time. I am going to ask the question, how can I change this situation? Owning responsibility is the meaning of entrepreneurship. So being a victim or a master is a function of attitude, not wealth. You can have people who are very wealthy, very powerful, who have victim stances. You can have countries. America today is in a classic victim stance. The most powerful nation in the world, the wealthiest nation in the world with the biggest army and the most scared. They're scared of their own shadows, for God's sake. I mean, crazy. When you're so powerful, what are you frightened of? But that's the situation. Victim stances. I submit to you that problems need solutions, not complaints. So what to do? To change the path of our future, we need a strategy. And I'm going to propose to you a strategy which is high value, quick returns, because you need to show returns, otherwise people will not commit for a long time. Number 2, mass appeal, mass benefit. Number 3 is self-funding, or if there is expense, minimum expense. And 4th one is mindset change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَأَلَّيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Allah said that effort is proportional to results, or results are proportional to effort actually. And a person can have nothing except what he works for. So making effort is critical. So 4 areas that we need to focus on. Number 1, education. Number 2, entrepreneurship. Number 3, poverty eradication. And number 4 is collaboration. Why focus? Because focus is what turns ordinary light into laser. Ordinary light at best illuminates, laser cuts through steel. What's the difference? Focus, nothing else. So what must we do with education? Integrate education. Our current fracturing of education into religious and non-religious is the biggest crime that was committed in the name of education. There is a lecture of mine which we did last week on integrated education. Please see that, where I have in detail spoken about how to do all of this. So I'm not going into that detail here. But integrating of education, bring the creator into the class. Show how the creator is related to the creation. This is very, very important. Integrate subjects. Don't teach subjects, physics separate, chemistry separate, biology. These are all related. Teach them in relation. And very important, show how the knowledge is applicable in a daily context. Number 2, inculcate ethics, morals and values. Ethics and morals and values have to be inculcated, they cannot be legislated. You can't tell somebody don't lie, they will not lie if they see you speaking the truth. People listen with their eyes. And education must inspire confidence, it must inspire creativity, it must inspire inclusiveness and inquisitiveness and imagination. It must create a sense of citizenship. I don't mean in the political context of a nation state, I mean citizenship as citizens of a community, of a society who feel a sense of responsibility for each other. That's very important. If you are my neighbor, do I feel responsible for you, that you should be happy, you should be safe? Or I don't feel any responsibility. If I'm not feeling responsibility, then I'm not being a citizen in that context. It's not a question of which passport. No. Citizenship in the context of citizens of a human community. Number 2, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, in simple terms, is the ability to own responsibility. An entrepreneur is a person who takes charge of his own future. Mindset change from consumption to contribution. And tool for that is to understand money. How does money work? And as I say, how to make money work for me. And that's why in Islam, to do business honestly is ibadah, is worship. Number 3, poverty alleviation. Poverty is a cancer. And poverty destroys societies. Read history. If you read history, you will discover how did the Roman Empire fall? Because of a huge gap between the rich and the poor. 2000 years later, we are in exactly the same situation. We learn nothing. No? That somebody said, the only thing you learn from history is that you learn nothing. So, and understand that poverty is not a lack of resources problem. It's a lack of compassion problem. Today our issue is not that. Our issue is not that there is no money. There is enough money today, and I'm not talking about taking it all away from the wealthy people. No. Despite the wealthy people still enjoying their wealth, there is enough money today to make sure that not one single person on the face of this planet goes to bed hungry. But we don't do that. So it's an issue of lack of compassion. Poverty does not happen because people make money, but because of what they do with that money. When that money is spent in self-indulgence, it doesn't help anybody. We spend, for example, in the city of Hyderabad, we spend a colossal fortune every year on ostentatious weddings. While there are people who don't have food to eat. How will we answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's absolutely shameful. There's no two ways about this. And very important to understand, especially because you are business students here, GDP is not an indicator of the health of an economy. Poverty is the indicator of the health of the economy. You can have a very high GDP because there are a few companies or few organizations which are selling a lot of stuff and making a lot of money, and that GDP looks good, but in terms of distribution of wealth, there's no distribution. So poverty is the real indicator of a nation's economic health, and of course economic health meaning health itself. Number 4 is issue of collaboration. We meaning Muslims, we meaning our people. We need to learn how to collaborate. Not competition. Focus on communication. Focus on commonalities, not on differences. Learn how to differ without being disagreeable, to disagree without being disagreeable. To have a healthy difference of opinion, to agree to disagree in certain cases, to convince and be convinced in certain other cases. It's very important, and that will happen only if we don't care who gets the credit. We are focused on the goal, we need to create a beautiful society. I don't care if somebody gives the credit to him, no problem. We achieved our job. Alhamdulillah. Right? That is very, very important. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, that if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. If you want to get what you never had, you have to do what you never did. And that is where we will end. 2 quick exercises for you guys who are interested. Do a personal SWOT analysis of yourself. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. See this, how do you stand in that basis? The reason I always put up these 4 blockers and sometimes triangles is to prove to you that I went to business school, because that's the only 2 worthwhile things they teach you. How to draw 4 blockers and how to draw triangles. And then your action plan. What is it that you plan to start doing today? What are you not doing today which you should start? What are you doing today which you should stop? And what are you doing today which is good and which you should continue to do? Because good sailing is about the sailor, not about the wind. A good sailor knows how to use the wind. No matter which direction the wind blows from, the good sailor knows what to do. But if the person does not know how to sail, then the moment he gets a wind from a wrong direction, he is sunk. And the last point which I remind myself and you is that all change begins with me. So it's not a question of me changing you, it's a question of me changing myself. Thank you very much for coming. It was a great pleasure to have you here. Jazakallahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.